citizens. The President has refused to recognize the new leadership in Tehran, and we support him fully in this decision. Additionally, we now have tentative commitments from President Chirac of France and Prime Minister Berlusconi of Italy. Both leaders have assured us that if some agreement for partial compensation can be reached, all companies in their respective countries with oil interests in Iran are prepared to terminate their contracts and pull out of the region at the earliest available opportunity. Although these implementations are predicated on talks that are scheduled to take place in late November, this is a huge step toward reinforcing the sanctions that are already in place. Let me assure you that our efforts to form a united front against Iran's nuclear ambitions will not be deterred.
Levy paused again, the momentary lull inviting a wave of clamorous voices. Ignoring them, he focused his gaze on the attractive young correspondent in the third row.
In response to the second part of your question, Susan, I'd like to stress that we're looking for strong UN participation in this matter. The proof of weapons production that I referred to is currently in the hands of the Security Council, and once the examination of that evidence is finished early next month, we expect that there will be a strong resolution and condemnation of the actions that have been undertaken by the new regime. No, I'm sorry, that's all, he said as another storm of voices erupted in his direction. Thank you for being here today.
Senator Daniel Levy stepped down from the dais amidst a flurry of questions that he had no intention of answering. A 4.5-hour hearing was bad enough, but the raised voices of 26 fellow senators and the incessant blinding light of camera bulbs had left him with a throbbing head and a dull pain in his stomach. Levy was sure that his recently diagnosed ulcer was a direct result of the trouble brewing once more in the Middle East. The recent death of Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, had resulted in the appointment of an ultra-conservative cleric on decidedly unfriendly terms with the United States. Despite his comments of a few moments ago, he was fully aware that the possibility of war in the region was once again looming on the horizon. He left the caucus room and took a sharp right, moving at a brisk stride down 2 short flights of marble stairs. As he walked, he was joined by his chief adviser, Kevin Aden.
So we're about to start this nonsense all over again, Levy said.
He ran a hand through his thick silver hair and spoke under his breath, ever distrustful of his small but highly efficient Secret Service detail. Members of Congress were not usually entitled to this level of protection, but as the Senate Majority Leader and the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, special attention was paid to his security, especially in the wake of recent events.
We spent billions in Iraq so our citizens could be treated to images of their sons and daughters dying on network television. What the hell did we get in return, Kevin?
Aden glanced at the senator out of the corner of his eye. He had to look down slightly, as Levy was at least a full head shorter than he was. He idly wondered if the senator harbored any lingering insecurities over his stature. On the other hand, one of the most powerful men in Washington need not concern himself with such trivialities. After all, Aden reminded himself, that's what I'm here for. Sir, the best bet right now is to stick to the party line. Maybe you can try to distance yourself from this later, but you're currently seen as Brenneman's biggest supporter. We're already running polls. If public support starts to swing the other way, we'll see about revising our stance. Levy raised an eyebrow, somewhat amused at this statement. Although he highly valued his advisor's input, the senator always considered Aden's youth and inexperience when weighing his opinion. Having just appeared on national television, throwing the full weight of his office behind the president, he could hardly reverse himself at any point in the near future without looking like a traitor to his party. Besides, he strongly believed that he was doing the right thing, and while he didn't mind complaining in private, he knew that he would endure as much political fallout as was necessary to prevent Iran from taking its place on the nuclear stage. These thoughts faded from his mind as they passed through the elaborate marble rotunda of the Russell Senate office building. Levy never ceased to be amazed by the beauty of the architecture and the exquisite craftsmanship that was obviously put into the structure. It continually reminded him of the importance of his job and how fortunate he was to be in his position.